Hi everybody, welcome to Dram Daddy Whiskey. I'm Dan, and tonight we are trying a whiskey that's gotten a lot of hype already, but I want to see if I like it. Calumet Farms 16-year-old. This bottle has gotten a lot of hype, as did the bottle the year before. This is, I believe, the third year in a row that Calumet Farm has released an extra aged bourbon. This year is a 16-year-old bourbon. Last year, they released a 15-year-old bourbon that a lot of people loved. The year before that, they released a 14-year-old bourbon. But each year, it seems to get more and more accolades. Each release they have is named after a horse, I believe, who won the Kentucky Derby. And they have the name of the horse too, which I think is supposed to be the name of the release, but nobody calls it that. So this one is Citation. It was a Triple Crown winner, actually. 16 years old, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Okay, so it's all from Kentucky. Batch size 19 barrels. Non-chill filtered for added depth of character. That's cool. Proof 106, so 53% ABV. Each year of these releases, they're increasing the age by 1 year, at least over the past few, but the proof has also increased, which is a little strange. Both of those things are strange. These days, it seems like it's harder to find older bourbon, certainly for a decent price. And so the fact that they're releasing older bourbon every year for about the same price and higher proof, it's pretty cool. And it says it's bottled by Three Springs Bottling Company, Bowling Green, Kentucky for Western Spirits. I don't know if they are completely transparent about this, if this is official or not, but everybody knows that Calumet is Barton sourced bourbon. I believe this company also makes Sam Houston and those releases that will be coming out, which are also Barton sourced bourbon. Let's see if this bottle lives up to the hype that everyone's giving it. Let's give it a nose. So right away, this is reminding me a little bit of a Sam Houston release that I had a while back. I don't know if this is true of all aged Barton or not, but there's something about the barrels that have been picked by, Calumet and Sam Houston that give me a little bit of like mint on the oak. It's like something about the rye spice and the oak combines to make this really oaky with a faint hint of mint smell. And on the Sam Houston I tried, it was way too prevalent. I didn't like it. It was pretty off-putting for me. But on this one, it's only there, I think, because I have noticed it before in a similar release, but I really like it. Almost reminds me a little bit of Four Roses. But it's kind of hidden among these sweet and spicy, bourbony, oaky notes. The oak on this is wonderful. It reminds me a little bit of Remus 5 from, year and a half, 2 years ago, where you've got this oak that's not drying at all, that's not really on the dark side, that's super sweet. Really good. Vanilla and spice and everything nice. That's what I get off this. The oak plus the vanilla, it's like a oaky cupcake. Smells delicious. All right, first sip. Wow, it's pretty good. That's a journey. Vanilla cupcake on the front, some oak in the mid, and then that super rye spice, almost minty finish on the back palate and the finish. Wow. And the finish is lasting a good amount of time, and I'm left with more oak than I thought. It's like that mintiness that was on the back palate and the finish initially. Maybe it wasn't on the finish at all. Maybe it was just the back palate. And the finish is just that sweet oak again. And I can't tell if it's the rye notes that are kicking in a little bit here and there, or if that's just a little bit of tannins or some astringency from the oak. But if it is the oak, it's just perfectly balanced for that to give it a little bit more complexity and a little more going on in the finish. It's really nice. Let's give it another sip. Yeah, same sort of journey on the second sip. The mintiness is less pronounced, but still there a bit. Everything is really well balanced. I can't help but focus on that mint a little bit though. And that's just something with me. There are certain flavor notes that I pick up on a lot and I can't get past them. Like I can't really taste anything else, or at least I can't ignore that they're there. I don't know what it is that's giving me the minty note on this one. I think it's probably a combination of the rye and the oak. I've not heard anyone mention that before in any reviews I've seen or any comments I've heard about this bourbon. And to be honest, in other times I've tasted this, I've not really picked up on that either, but I'm definitely picking up on it now. Although I have to say it's barely there, and I don't think most people would pick up on it. I just am kind of sensitive to that. With that being said, I like it. I think it really works with this. It is definitely a product of the oak and the rye, and so it's kind of caught up in those flavors as well. It doesn't come on its own or predominate. It's just a part of that sweet oak with a little bit of the tannins and then the rye spice kicking in as well. That presents in a little bit of like a minty way. But that's all layered on top of this sweetness and brown sugar and vanilla and really classic bourbon notes. This really is a pretty good classic bourbon if you're looking for something that has some decent age on it. Anything north of like 14 years, I think you run the risk of overaging. And I think they did a really good job of making sure that didn't happen here. You get all the good things about oak without any of the downsides. It's not taking over the palate. It's not drying or astringent. It's just blending really, really well with the rest of the flavors. The viscosity on this isn't, the thickest. The finish is pretty long though. I'd say from front to back, this is a very strong bourbon. It's a good one. So final score, whiskey in the bottle. What do I give this? I always base these scores on what I think, not what I think, any bourbon drinker off the street might think. So the hint of mint in there is gonna work against this one for me. But I still think it's a really good bourbon. It's incredibly well balanced. There's a lot going on and it's borderline crushable. The oak and the mint might keep it from being super crushable, but it is a very easy to drink bourbon that is quality. Calumet 16 gets an 8.0. It is a great bourbon. And now for the grade on the release. We've got a great bourbon that wasn't too tough to find actually. If you wanted to find Calumet, if you put any intention behind it and followed through, you would get it. And probably not for the worst price either. It's not a bourbon that you had to pay secondary prices for to guarantee that you'd be able to get. It was in stores, it was online, it was available, it still might be. And the price on this one, it's more expensive than it has been in years past, but that goes for pretty much every bourbon for the most part. And for ultra aged bourbons and some scotches, it's weird. It's like upper level bourbons and lower level scotches. If you follow the $10 per year of aging rule, you're actually getting ahead on this one. I got this one for, let's see, price tag's right there, $139.99 before tax. I do think that was a particularly good price, which is why I pulled the trigger on it for this one after I'd seen it at a bunch of stores before. But still, I don't think it's unheard of that you could find this for 140 bucks before tax. So for that price, for a 16-year-old bourbon that isn't impossible to find if you really want to, I'd give this an A-. It's a great bourbon. It's expensive, but it's priced well for what it is, and you could find it. What more can you ask for? And the really cool thing is, if this trend continues, we'll be getting a 17-year one, who knows, in a year or so that won't be crazy expensive. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. I'm definitely gonna be keeping an eye out for that if it comes, waiting on bated breath for the 17-year, but I have no clue if that's gonna happen. If you've got an inside scoop, if you had a different take on this, if you really love it, if you're churning through your 5th bottle, whatever, let us know. I wanna hear about it, I wanna hear what you think. Until next time, cheers.